Ted DiBiase. If you want the World Wrestling Federation heavyweight title, come and try and get it. We're talking 80s wrestling. Hit it. It was the 1980s. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T's battle against Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff saved Vince McMahon's career. The first Royal Rumble was held. The Ultimate Warrior defeated Randy Savage. Hulk Hogan beat the Iron Sheik to cement Hulkamania, and Ebenezer Piper was visited by 4 ghosts at Christmas time. I'm your host, Gorilla Monsoon. No, wait. Mean Gene. No, that's not right either. It's me, Rad Dog Jerry D, with another episode of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, and fads. If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, we got it covered. Now, joining me is a whole 80s gang of Totally Rad Christmas all-star baby faces and heels. Now, the tag team duo of Mailman Todd Killian and Mike the Muppet Westfall was scheduled to be here, but they decided not to defend their title. So, from Talking About Things, it's the amazing Mr. Twist, Kevin Cline. Mr. Twist, what's happening?
Hey, how's it going, man?
From the Film Strip Podcast, it's Ron, the real Hollywood Hogan. You ready to take the belt back, Ron?
Speak to me, warriors.
From Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad, it's Alter Ego Torres. Yo, Manny, what's happening?
It's happening. It's happening. It's going to keep happening.
And saving the best for last from Christmas Conversations, it's, and excuse the pronunciation here, Claude, the French Loverboy, Bélanger. Hey, CJ, what's happening? Did I do okay on that?
I just want to say thanks for having me on your podcast. I want you to know that all you filthy American, they're nothing compared to Canada. But at the end of the day, we're here to have fun. So thanks for having me, Jerry. And kiss my Canadian butt.
Well, I think we got Hulk Hogan here too. So we need to, we got the old good old American boy here. So let's start a USA chant or something. I don't know.
So funny how Americans do that. Anytime Americans face anybody that's not American, they're just like, screw it. USA.
Okay, CJ, which Rougeau brother is your father? Because that was the most Ray Rougeau sounding promo I've ever heard somebody cut.
I'm originally from Quebec, so I have a bunch of like French families, so I can turn it on just a bit. It's a little strong there. People, it has more of a twang in Quebec, but if you go to France, it's more, hello, this is France. We are more, je ne sais quoi.
Great fishing in Quebec.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm already lost, and we just started, so that's not a good sign here.
My goal is to just totally screw with Jerry whenever he has a podcast. I just try to steer it in different directions. So he has to edit, and he's like, I'm never inviting this guy back.
And yet I still keep inviting you back for some reason.
I think you're a masochist.
A little bit, yeah. but finally, last but not least, from Just Another Friday Night Podcast, it's CM Chuck. My man, what's going down?
What's going down, Jerry D?
Ooh, I like your shirt there.
Look at that guy.
I had to get in the spirit.
Look at that guy.
Spirit, man. Hey, here we go. I'm missing the shoulders, I think. Very nice, my friend.
Well, he is the manager, so he should be nice and strong there.
That's right, brother.
That's a real gun show. It's a real gun show. How you doing, man? Chuck.
Yep. It's Chuck, Ron, Kevin, Manny, and CJ.
Hello.
Guys, that's Chuck.
Bonjour, you American peasant.
What the Chuck is that?
That is the French Loverboy right there.
That's my gimmick
going,
tonight.
So, 80s wrestling. Talk to me.
Great
Man.
lead-in.
Where do
just
we
kidding.
start?
I know, for real. Okay, I always ask, like, what's your experience? What's your history with wrestling in general?
I'll start. Honestly, I've been watching wrestling ever since I can remember. My dad got me into it. I still remember being a kid and watching Macho Man promos, and I used to run out of the living room because he would scare the hell out of me. And I am one of the rare people that I've been to WrestleMania three times. Yeah. I was there when Hulk Hogan wrestled Ultimate Warrior.
Really?
And it was like it was the only good advice that my dad ever gave me, because I was just a kid. I was probably, what was that, 92, 91?
Yeah, something like that, 92, I think.
Yeah. And I remember at the end of that match, they were hugging, and I'm like, Dad, why are they hugging? They just fought. And he's like, that's what you call respect, son. And I was like, oh, okay. I was also there for WrestleMania 18, Rock and Hogan. I was directly left of the hard cam. The hard cam is the area that it faces. That was fun. And I went to WrestleMania 23. I think the main event was it Taker and Batista, or was it Shawn and Cena? I can't remember. Yeah. So
let's say yes.
That's my history. I've watched it ever since I can remember. There was a period of time that I didn't watch it. It was just really bad from 2010 to about 2013, and then or whenever CM Punk dropped the pipe bomb, he kind of got me back into it. And I love wrestling. I'll never not love it, and I'm not ashamed to admit it to my friends. And
right on.
I've just been doing it. I've been at it a long time.
I hear you. What about you, Chuck?
Yeah, man, great stuff, CJ. That's amazing. Those two manias that you mentioned are awesome. Kind of the same, man. I have a long history with wrestling too. I barely found out like 2 or 3 years ago. My dad just tells me we've me and him watch wrestling again since the 80s. I was born in 81, so growing up watching it in the 80s. And then he had told me a story. He said that my grandfather used to take him to the Municipal Auditorium here in San Antonio, leave my dad in the first or second row, and then he would see his dad in the wrestling ring as a referee. And I was like, Dad, Grandpa ref matches and he never told me this? And he's like, yeah. On top of that, yeah, his mom, my great-grandmother, he said that they would watch Ric Flair wrestle in Georgia Championship Wrestling, and that my grandmother didn't cuss, but he said the one time she would cuss would be when Ric Flair would come out and she'd say, man, I hate that mother. And so, yeah, man. So I'd always loved it. Of course, a kid of the 80s, loved obviously Hogan,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Warrior, Macho, watched it with my cousins, wrestled, in bedrooms and in backyards and pools, wherever we could. And then the love has stayed with me all the way. I feel like kind of like CJ said, wrestling's like it's like a love-hate roller coaster. You're always kind of paying attention. You love talking with other wrestling guys about the times that were really great, but there's sometimes you're not watching it, like you're in a lull. And I feel like I've kind of been in one of those lulls lately. We've done wrestling episodes on my podcast because me and my partner, Double A, he's again, partially he loves Arn Anderson, Double A, but he's a huge wrestling guy, loves the old school stuff. But we just both been in this lull, but the recent CM Punk reappearance has been definitely enticing us to get back into it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin?
Man, I've been watching it for probably about 18 years now. I started when I was about 11. I remember my first match watching it was Rey Mysterio versus I think it was Scotty Too Hottie, something like that. But man, I've just been a huge fan ever since. I grew up watching it in my teen years. I met my best friend through wrestling. We went to IHOP one night and just completely ignored everyone else at the table because one of us had the Miz's ringtone on our phone. And so we just talked nonstop about wrestling until
was it you?
late out.
You will neither confirm nor deny.
Look, I still have a wrestling ringtone as my on my phone. And no one knows it. It's a Johnny Gargano's older NXT theme. No one knows it, but I have it.
I would say 85% of us here would know it. So you're among friends.
I've had Shinsuke's theme song. I've had Finn Balor's. Man, I've had so many different ringtones for wrestling themes. But yeah, I've followed it for so long. Just like what other people are saying right now, wrestling was kind of in a lull the past year. And, COVID definitely affected that. But I think it even was happening before that. just really still storylines. AEW has really got me back into wrestling. It's been years since I watch wrestling on a weekly basis. And me and my wife are watching it together and just actually enjoying it. I'm looking forward to it again. And like you, Chuck said, CM Punk definitely bringing that interest back to wrestling.
Nice.
So I just absolutely love it.
Right on. Ron?
Like everyone else here, I am pretty much a lifelong wrestling fan with the last name Hogan. Growing up in the 80s, I didn't have a choice but to learn about wrestling. My uncle used to have one of the big, like 6 foot wide satellite dishes in his backyard.
Oh, yeah.
That you would actually have to move to connect to satellites. So
I know those kind, yeah.
So we could get pretty much all the pay-per-views. So we got pretty much all the pay-per-views for free. It's probably not legal, but he's passed away, so it doesn't really matter. I'm sure there's a statute of limitations on that is also gone by. Don't sue me, Vince. But yeah,
I'm not big enough for him to come after us, so I think you're fine. You can admit whatever you want here.
I'm emailing the WWE right now.
I would not put past Vince McMahon to be petty enough to sue every podcast.
That's true. Yeah.
You're fired.
Get him, pal.
But yeah, life. Actually, my grandfather, who passed away before I was born, was a big wrestling fan, and every Tuesday night he would go to the Louisville Gardens to watch Mid-South, Continental, whichever one it was back in the 60s and 70s, to watch those kind of guys. So he was on the early. He was on the early uptake of people like Randy Savage, Jerry the King Lawler, all the guys who are foundational in terms of 80s people. And even though I never met him, I feel like my love of wrestling somehow comes from him because my dad is not a fan.
Gotcha.
And yet, if you watch if you have the WWE Network or if you have the Peacock, on the In Your House Ground Zero, from '97, the one that they did from Louisville, one of the early In Your House pay-per-views, I am there celebrating with the Headbangers after they won the tag team titles. They threw a hot dog at me.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
What about you, Manny?
Awesome.
Well, I'm going to start out saying I was raised watching wrestling. I cannot confirm nor deny that my dad paid for the pay-per-views. He's still alive, so I have to wait. Well, I was born in 85. I've been watching wrestling as long as I could remember.
Dang, I think I'm the oldest one here. Sorry.
Did you say 85 or 95?
85.
Oh yeah, me too. We're the same age then. Cool.
And I grew up on WCW, WWF, type deal. Also in Puerto Rico, it's a major thing. Ron, don't come at me with that crap. I have nothing to do with what my people did in the past. I am sorry for whoever was involved.
Are we talking about Bruiser here?
Yeah, we're talking about Bruiser. I was about to come at him.
Do we need a USA chant?
I have nothing. I have nothing to do with that. I will also join in that USA chant. I live here in the mainland. And I don't know. I've just been a fan my whole life. I haven't been to WrestleMania. I've had bad luck with that. I bought tickets when I was in Miami to go to WrestleMania in Orlando a few years back. That same WrestleMania that the fireworks were out of whack and went after people. I couldn't make it. And then I bought tickets for WrestleMania last year. And by the time we put the claim, we couldn't get a refund. Oh, but I've been to the Royal Rumble. I've been to a bunch of house shows. I've been to Raw. Years ago, I went to when it was Warzone, Rawest War and all that. Yeah. And I've been to a few SmackDowns as well. Haven't been in a while. And just lately, I'm just getting back into the wrestling group. I always read about it, but I'm investing more time, because of Peacock.
Right on.
Can I add something real quick, Jerry?
Yeah, go for it.
I went to WrestleMania a couple of years ago when it was WrestleMania Star, which I guess was 32. I don't know. That was like the worst experience of my life.
Oh, wow.
What happened?
So we got there about 3:00. Show started, I don't know, we'll call it 5 or 6 because of the pre-show. We didn't get to our seats till 7. We were sitting on the field, and they would not let anybody to their seats that were on the field. And there was probably 1,000 people just crammed into one little area, shoulder to shoulder, like sardines. They weren't letting anyone move. We were not walking anywhere. We were just standing still, trying to get to our seats. You had to have a wristband to get on the floor. And I mean, we were in it for about 2 hours. People were starting to just shove each other. And then eventually an old man passed out and they had to get paramedics in there. And that's when they eventually let everybody to their seats. It was the worst experience ever. We didn't get to our seats until Kevin Owens was making his entrance. And yet I'm still planning on going next year.
Was that the WrestleMania where, no, it wasn't. Which was that the one where, no, that wasn't the one where Austin, Rock, and Hogan opened up.
No, WrestleMania Star was the AT&T Stadium one.
So is that the one when The Rock like lit his name on fire with a gun or something? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh yeah, the one I'm talking about was when Hogan called it the Silver Dome or something like that.
Yes.
That was the New Orleans one, I think, or something.
Yeah. The highlight though was I got to meet Austin Aries that night, so that was pretty cool.
Right on.
Austin Aries?
Yeah.
I hate that guy.
Hey, I understand. My wife my wife met him first and she came to me. She's like, AJ Styles is over there. I was losing my shit. I was like, AJ Styles, I got to go see him. And there's Austin Aries. I was like, okay, this is cool too, I guess.
So let's be honest, because like I haven't seen him in person. I just seen him online. He's a bit of it's a doofus. He's like he's a big like conspiracy theorist type. You know the type. How short is he? He looks tiny.
He's like 5'9". I was taller than him.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's funny.
I'm 6 foot. I'm not nothing huge or anything, but I mean, I'm definitely taller.
I always look up to you, Kevin.
Oh,
you want to hear funny? You want to hear
joke
funny
of the
joke?
night? All right.
Jerry thought that he was going to keep this episode within an hour, and we've just done the introductions. You now know what wrestling is. It's a community.
He's never been with wrestling fans.
That's true. No, I haven't.
Oh, this will be the longest podcast of your life.
I was gonna say, Jerry, you run a tight ship, brother, but when it comes to wrestling, I don't know.
I'll do what I can. So I'm kind of the exact opposite of all of y'all. I never watched wrestling. The most I knew about it growing up was Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling, that cartoon. Whereas like Hulk Hogan led his team and Roddy Piper led his team, the bad guys.
Yeah.
And then No Holds Barred, the movie. I remember that. Other than that, like I didn't care about it really. My college roommate used to watch it, and every time he would turn it on, I'd just go grab my guitar and go to my room and just play guitar like the whole time. So wrestling's never really been my thing, but with all the excitement once you guys open like your own channel on Discord for wrestling, I mean, it definitely piqued my interest a little bit. So maybe I'll go back and watch some of these. Although having watched now this, the things that we're going to be maybe talking about tonight.
We still have to talk about those things. I mean, there was actual good things in wrestling in the 80s,
There was good things about wrestling in the 80s.
Come on,
yeah.
Piper was on there.
Yes, Ali, that was
man. That dude is awesome.
Very good.
And his acting got better. So that's all I'm going to say. I liked him in They Live. And,
the problem with the clips that you shared with us, Jerry, is that someone cut the wrestling mostly out, so you missed any possibility of there being anything good.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. But in my defense, someone shared those with me, and then I just shared them with you. So
No,
I didn't actually go seek those out.
I'm like, these are some of the Christmas stuff they've done in the 80s. Like you can look and see if what you want to do, and then you just like, let's do these ones. And like the 50-minute one was good, and then you had like Jabroniville with Tito Santana. And
Tito Santana.
That match lasted forever.
Yeah, I fast forwarded. I'm like, we're not gonna discuss a match like F this.
No, I'm okay not talking about that.
That's cool.
Like at all. So, mostly I just like I have a lot of respect for Roddy Piper because the dude, he worked with what he had, you know what I mean? And like I said, I liked him in They Lived. I liked him in Hell Comes to Frogtown. But other than that, the guy wore a kilt, so you gotta give it to him.
No, listen, Roddy Piper is a good Saskatoon, Boy. A lot of people don't know he's Canadian.
Yeah, Canadian.
I'm telling you, he was one of the better promos in history, especially later on in his career. That guy could get a reaction and some kind of emotional response from anybody, man. I miss Roddy Piper, and he's one of the ones. There's a few people that wrestlers pass away, but when you think about it and you think like which ones hurt me the most, he's up there for me. Like Eddie Guerrero was my favorite wrestler of all time. when he passed away, I was devastated. But when Roddy went, it was sad, man, because he was I grew up with him, and then later on, like in his WCW run, and I think he did really well in his role. I think he's one of the all-time greats and one of the all-time best heels and promos. So
absolutely, CJ, I agree with you 100%, man. And Jerry, if you go, I got to watch a little bit of the clip of him in the Ebenezer Scrooge bit there.
Terrible. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, I know you got to work the Christmas in, and I was kind of pleased because I hadn't seen that before. And I mean, of course, I have. There's so much wrestling in the '80s, and there's no way I could have seen it all. But it reminded me that I just saw this week earlier in the week, because if you like wrestling, it probably comes up in your feeds in whatever social media you're on, at least once a day, so you can watch some clip. But they just had him when he was on with Bill Maher.
I just saw that.
Yeah, that's a really example of exactly what CJ's talking about, of what we all know Bill Maher is a great talker. Think what you want about him, but he is good at that. And just Piper just shuts him down like so awesomely. I was like, dude, that's fantastic. I love that.
Not many people can go one-on-one with a guy like him. And you're talking about the one when he showed him his scar on his side, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then he made like a comment, and he just made a sarcastic comment to Piper again after, and just says, as long as you don't show me you can't swear on your butt. And then he kind of paused, and he's like,
you were just telling me about it.
And then he made a sarcastic comment about, I'm not really into like doing stuff with guys or something. He's like, well, then how'd you get the job? He was very quick-witted.
He's definitely quick-witted. Yeah. I liked it. I mean, again, I know him mostly from the cartoon and from like random movies and less from actual wrestling. But I mean, I thought he, at least in that little Ebenezer thing that we saw, his acting was pretty terrible. And yet I remembered him as a much better actor, because, and I guess it's just the whole medium that he was in kind of changed his acting style. But like I said, I really enjoyed him in his films. So, I mean, he's not like Oscar worthy, but I mean, it definitely improved quite a bit.
Well, the problem with the Ebenezer thing is it was clearly they had like 20 minutes to get it done, and they just had to rush through it. I thought the stuff he was doing, especially with Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon,
I like that.
In the Santa Claus suit angle, I thought that was really good. And when Piper gets heated in that, I think it works really well. I think taking stuff seriously is not necessarily Piper's forte. But if you just let him riff, and you say, all right, now slowly get mad, and you can watch the color of his face change as he gets madder and madder. I think that's his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I like, so essentially this was from an episode of Primetime Wrestling, WWF in what was it, 1989. And so Bobby Heenan comes out in a Santa suit, and I guess he was like forced to do it. He's really just kind of blowing it off, and they're like, come on, you got to do it with some gusto, you got to have enthusiasm. And he kind of essentially really puts down Roddy Piper, who, and the job of Santa. And he starts saying all sorts of, he's like trying to convince kids that like Santa's not real. And Roddy Piper like really takes offense to that. And like, of course he does the whole move over to the other studio thing, and he like starts beating him up. And I thought that was just awesome.
That's another great thing about Heenan. Heenan is another guy that there'll never be another like him. When you think about best managers and best on-screen personalities, he's up there. He was a heel, but he was absolutely a genius. And he even goes as far as to just take off the hair, take off the beard, and he's saying to kids that Santa's not real. But Piper's adamant. He's like, no, there is a Santa Claus. And I love like what Ron said. Like, Piper can start here, but he knows how to just amp it up and then keep going. And that's what was so special about him. And he just ends up beating up Bobby Heenan as Santa. It was quite ridiculous. It
was ridiculous, but I like when he's like, hey, I have kids at home, and I was just like, that's exactly right. I mean, I would have been like, if they didn't play that up, I would have been like super pissed at that. Like, what are you doing? So I'm glad they really hit that.
I forget what the special was. I remember seeing something they were talking about, because a lot of wrestlers, sometimes they had to go out because they had shots to do, like shows to do, sometimes Christmas night. Mm-hmm. And apparently Piper did make it. He tried to be home on Christmas because he loved Christmas, but he was poor. So he was able to provide his kids with everything. But I forget what the special, you know what? It might have been those new A&E ones. I think they touched on Christmas with him. And apparently he was like a pretty big fan of Christmas. Nice. And he'd make a point to be there with his kids. And anybody that doesn't watch wrestling that's listening and saying, well, of course you'd be with your kids. Like, no, sometimes these wrestlers, like they don't get home at that time. And if they do, they're gone by 2 p.m. So yeah, I think Roddy was special. Like he touches a place in my heart. He's a good Canadian boy. I'm Canadian, and that's why I talk about him.
USA.
Go to hell, you American pigs. Stick to my stomach. I'm not impressed. Okay, you little scum.
Favorite Roddy Piper match?
Oh, that's easy. I'm gonna go Roddy Piper and Bret Hart. What was it? Ron might know the exact date of that.
Oh, that was 90...
for the Intercontinental title when Bret won the first. I just remember the finish, and it's still done to this day. That's
94, I think.
Yeah, it could have been. That was. I don't remember the venue. I've just watched it a million times. But Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper. I think didn't Piper kind of go into that as a heel? And then he kind of came out a bit of a baby. So that is easy. Yeah. That's my favorite match for sure.
Right on.
WrestleMania 8.
WrestleMania ton of new fans, Jerry, that the wrestling side's going to just come in for you now. You have a whole bunch of new slew fans there.
That's okay. I don't mind.
Well, one thing they had back in the 80s that we lost it throughout the years was, the managers, the valets. It's not the same thing now. I mean, obviously we're in times that, we have to empower women and make them as equal, but you go back and watch, the women being the valet. Yeah. I mean, you watch the women being the valets, you watch these managers. I mean, we still have Paul Heyman, which is like the closest reflection to the managers in the 80s and early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But that's when I lost interest in wrestling, because he always, like, for example, me, I like watching what was going on in the ring and from the outside interferences. But I mean, it's not the same thing now. It was better when I was growing up. I mean, I guess because of age or whatever, but I'll still watch it. But yeah, like back in the day, it was more watchable than now.
I think a lot of the problem that you're running into, Manny, is you don't have a lot of people who could talk, who are allowed to talk off the cuff like they were in the 80s. Yeah. Like they would give him some bullet points, but you can't script Roddy Piper. He's just going to say whatever. If you gave Roddy Piper a script, he'd blow his nose on it. And
with this whole PG stuff going on, I mean, give some people what they want. You don't have to make everything family friendly. You don't have to make everything for everybody. We could still enjoy a little hardcore show. I don't know if you guys, I mean, this is not the 80s. This was what, yesterday or 2 days ago, CM Punk, after the cameras went off the air, they went completely explicit, and it was good. It had a nice pop. You still saw people's faces when they were like saying the words, but you can't censor everything out.
Yeah,
right.
Well, one of the things big differences between AEW and WWE. WWE's PG. They're not about wrestling. They're about entertainment. AEW is literally giving fans what they want. I mean, even going as far as to signing the wrestlers that everybody's wanted throughout the years.
AEW is giving some fans what they want. Like, there's some things I love about AEW and I watch for that reason, but there's some other things that I'm just like, this is foolishness. Like,
too many factions.
It's not even that. Just sometimes, like, I love some of the wrestlers, but like, I can only take so much.
Get the Young Bucks off my screen. Is that what you're saying?
Like, we understand. Like, listen, that's another thing. They call it
kayfabe right now.
They call it kayfabe. I think that's what's missing in wrestling. Kayfabe means wrestlers would act like it was real back in the day because they had to. They wouldn't travel with a guy that they were feuding with. And what I find with AEW now is just sometimes, like, I'm on a tangent here.
It's okay. I want a podcast if you don't go on tangents.
I know, but I want a story in my matches because it's like a movie. When you have like a plot and they're acting towards it and the scenes are aiming towards this plot. That's how wrestling should be. So you're going to work on an arm. If that guy's finishing move involves using his arm, which most of them do, you're going to work on that arm. Or if the wrestler's finishing move, like the sharpshooter with Bret Hart, if he goes after his leg, he's going to work that leg in that match. You know what I mean? I like stories to be told. Sometimes I just feel with AEW, it's like flip, flip, floppy, flip, 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 kick out, kick out, kick out, kick out. This is awesome. Okay, we're done. And then by the time you get to the finish, you've already just like expanded like so much where you're like, I just want it to be over. Sorry. That's just one thing
That's
about
okay.
AEW I don't
But
like.
that does make me wonder, what's in your opinions your most favorite finish? What do you think the greatest
finisher of all time?
Yeah, what do you think the greatest finisher?
I'll go last because I know somebody's gonna take the one. So the one that I love.
I'll go first on this one.
Okay.
I mean, I have to go with it. It's fun. The backstabber from Carlito.
Oh,
Okay, that's different.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice. I always like that one. That's a great one, man. Paying
Puerto
homage
Ricans
to
got to
it.
stick together. Yeah.
No,
There
but I
you
mean,
go.
it's actually a nice finisher. I mean, thank God, at least I could be proud of that.
No, it is
Honestly,
great.
though, like if you use that in real life, that could do some serious damage.
To who's doing it?
Yeah.
I guess I'll go. Jerry, I like, Texas, San Antonio, not far from Victoria. Of course, favorite guy, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I got to go
There
with
you
the
go.
stunner. I
There it
mean,
is.
I always like the move that any guy, any size could do to another guy, any size. And sometimes it didn't look great when Austin did it on the big show, but you could do it. You know what I mean? And I'm a small guy, so I like a move that potentially I could execute on a guy any size.
How
Yeah, so-
much of a bummer was it to you when you realized the stunner does nothing in real life?
Yeah. But it's great if you hit your girlfriend with it over a swimming pool. It's awesome.
What kind of fun are you having?
She doesn't like it. She doesn't like it either.
So you mean ex-girlfriend?
Several times over.
Yeah, gotcha. See, I wish I had an answer for this, but I know nothing about wrestling. So
Mine was
there you
gonna be the stunner, but I know someone would pick it. But
Yeah.
like I think a good finisher should be a move that can be hit by any size on someone of any size. So it's not one of my favorites, but I've always been a sucker for the frog splash, whether it was Eddie Guerrero, Rob Van Dam, D'Lo Brown. I've always loved the frog splash. If it's done correctly, it's a great finishing move.
As long as it's not done by Dominic Guerrero or Dominic Mysterio.
Did you guys see that finish he had against, it was Bobby Roode, and he came down with the frog splash? It was
No,
like a perfect.
I can't watch Raw.
It was just the perfect way of not to do a frog splash. Like he came down on him and like he didn't have any reaction. It was just like a flat pancake. Normally, if you come down on a guy, you want to like resemble that there's impact, but he was just like this. And it just 1, 2, 3. I'm like, oh God.
He weighs like what, 90 pounds or something like that?
He's
Close to it.
way too
Painful-
green to be on the main roster.
painfully thin.
Send
Yeah,
him to NXT, man.
Raw is very bad. Jerry, if you're gonna get back into wrestling, don't even watch wrestling on Monday nights. It's just
Okay.
It's
You
Wednesday
send
nights, that's
Dominic,
what you
you send
watch.
Dominic Mysterio to NXT. He's gonna be in that tweet. Dominic Mysterio was recently released.
That's okay. That's fine.
There's been a lot of those lately.
I want to know Ron's
A
favorite
lot of
finisher
releases.
because I don't think he said.
I have not said because this is you're like asking me which of my you're asking me like what finger do I like the most and which one do I want to have cut off, because like I mean if we're talking strictly like 80s,
Yeah.
then I've got to go with what was it? I had one just sitting here on the top of my head. Obviously, speaking of things that anybody any size can do to anybody of any size, my favorite finisher is going to be Earthquake's giant whoopsie, the big sit down splash, where he just
Yeah.
Nice.
where he just crushes a guy with his butt.
To give
Solid.
everyone a
Because-
visual, he would literally just jump around the guy and cause an earthquake, and then sit on his head.
And then jump in the sit down on his head. And the reason
Awesome.
why I always liked it because it looked like that would straight up murder anyone.
Oh yeah,
Because John Tenta was a former sumo wrestler. He was like 6'4" and like 390
Oh
pounds
my
or 400 pounds at his lightest. And he's not like sitting in the corner like where he can lower himself down with the ropes like Yokozuna always did. He is running and he jumps in the air and then he lands like on his ass on your chest. And I just like, even though I know that he's not trying to crush that guy's not going to be happy with that. He's not going to, his sternum is not going to be happy. So that one always worked for me quite a bit on a kayfabe and a shoot level.
Nice.
Ron, do you remember you're talking about that move? And I don't mean to interrupt anyone that hasn't gotten a chance to say it, but do you guys remember the angle? I'm sure you guys do, from the 80s. Let's try to help Jerry get it back in the 80s here. But when when Earthquake did that to Hogan, and it took him out for a while. He like crushed him, and it took him out.
Yeah.
And you could write to Hulk Hogan, like it was like, send your well wishes here, and you got back like a postcard. And I remember as a kid thinking it was, legitly written by Hulk Hogan. Of course, it was just printed over and over.
Yeah.
I literally had that thing till it was in tatters. I put it in my mirror the way Rocky put Drago's picture in his mirror.
Nice.
I kept that because as a little boy, I remember getting like teary-eyed, like he killed Hulk Hogan, he crushed him. I was like, I gotta write to him, man. I gotta, tell him that, I support him and I'm still a Hulkamaniac, because it was like they really worked that angle. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. Nice.
I remember that.
Really ate his vitamins.
Well, Hulk was on top for years. He was like the main. I mean, he was champion, wasn't he?
And then he did reality TV.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Was it Ultimate Warrior that finally beat him?
Yeah, I was there.
Think.
What Vince wanted to do is they were kind of grooming Warrior to be. They were trying to
like
make
the
him
next
the next
Hulk
Hogan.
Hogan. Yeah,
Failed experiment.
He just did not have it. Jim Hellewig, Ultimate Warrior, he just was. He's a different cat, man. He wasn't built for it. Like, not a slight on him. He just didn't love the business, and he couldn't work a match. He just really could not work a match, and apparently he was really hard to deal with. He didn't want to do jobs, which means lose. And I was never a big Warrior fan. I remember being there, and I was so friggin' mad when Hulk Hogan lost, because I was only 6, and I was just like, this is not right. Like, how is this happening? And I just, even at that age, I did not believe in Warrior. And so, like, it was the same thing. I'm jumping ahead a bit, but it was the same thing when they tried to make Lex Luger the next Hogan, and they did the whatever Intrepid. They did a boat, and they were trying to do a slam, and he slammed Yokozuna. It just felt so fabricated and pushed, and I never liked Warrior. I just was not a fan of him. And growing up to learn how he was as a human being, like, I was spot on. He's not a good guy. God rest his soul.
Yeah, they really thought they were going to be able to pull that one off, but no.
Yeah,
I mean, if you put Warrior in there with Ravishing Rick Rude, and Rick Rude can't drag you to a good match, I don't know. There's no hope for you.
Yep, I agree. And nobody sold an atomic drop quite like Rick Rude. If anybody, that's basically when you lift a guy up and drop him on your knee right on his butt, and he would have the funniest reactions, man. Oh God, Rick Rude was great. Rick Rude was fantastic.
What about Ric Flair?
Oh,
I'm gonna catch some heat for this. I'm gonna catch heat. I thought Ric Flair was a good talent. I thought he benefited from having the same matches again and again in the territories. I think he was a good wrestler. I was never a big fan. He was a little before my time. I'm not a Ric Flair fan.
I got you.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Wait. Kevin never said what the finisher was.
That's right.
I was thinking the same thing, Manny.
Good catch.
Thank you, Manny.
Yeah.
Wow. So my favorite finisher of all time is the choke slam.
Oh yeah.
I just love just the manhandling part of it. Just grabbing somebody by their throat.
Don't say that out loud, man.
Oh no. If it was me, that's the finisher I'm doing. I do it to my wife every night. I just pick her by the throat and just slam her down.
Jesus.
It's she said I do. It's okay.
Yeah, we got the government involved. It's okay.
Once Kevin said he was over 6 foot, I knew it was going to be big man moves the rest of the night. I was like, here it comes.
Can we give an honorable mention to a move that none of us named, but I think it's a really good finisher? It's
the Superman punch.
No. The cutter, diamond cutter, RKO. It's basically you grab a guy by his head and drag him down to the floor. And I just think it's one of those moves that anybody of any size could really do. Whether it has a lot of damage in real life is debatable, but
QT Marshall's doing a great job with it.
Oh God, that guy is so boring.
He's awful.
He dresses like Tony Soprano. I have a name for him. His name's Phony Soprano. That guy. Oh my God. I'd rather watch paint dry. He is so dull.
What do you guys think about it's not an 80s, but the Vertebreaker?
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all right.
I'm a fan.
It's an
I'm a
exciting
big guy
see.
too. Like I was a big fan of the power bomb, man. In real life.
Oh, Batista
I tried to use
The
that in real
Batista
fights
bomb.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I never tried to use the power bomb in a real fight, but I did choke a kid out with the transmission one time.
Yes, and everybody's trying to use a DDT. A DDT can kill somebody in real life.
I've F5 somebody in a pool.
Oh yeah.
The choke slam was a great move in the pool.
Oh, for sure.
And you wouldn't even grab him by the neck. You'd just kind of grab him by the sternum and chest. It was like a Paul White kind of Big Show slam. Jerry's like, what are they talking about? How do I segue now? Like, shut up, everybody. God.
It's okay.
I never seen Jerry in this much deep water before.
I know. So the only
time
time
it's content.
The only time that it's been worse is when I was talking strawberry shortcake with Roxanne and
oh my God.
I have no idea. I know even less about strawberry shortcake than I do about wrestling. So
did I not tell you this before? I said, just let us carry the show, man.
That's what I'm doing. I'll say a couple of things here and there. Like I told you, I'm Mean Gene. I get out of the way.
Yeah, you just ask us questions.
I just ask you questions, and you guys you go from there, and we'll see who's the heel and who's not.
Going back to Ric Flair, what CJ was mentioning that he was doing the same match everywhere he went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once he hit the Caribbean. When he first went to Dominican Republic, he was the NWA champion. Jack Veneno was the actual icon of Dominican Republic, and people just rioted and they went out of control. So he had to lose the NWA belt to him, and then right after he got it back, he went to Puerto Rico, and the same thing happened over there. Yeah, people just rioted for him to lose the belt. I don't know if it happened like that in other countries, but
hey, man.
It happened like that.
Puerto Rican
Japan
fans,
too,
Mexican fans. They're
what was what was the name of that wrestler? He's actually Hawaiian, but he played like Japanese, and he's in the Running Man. What's his name?
Toru Tanaka.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, Tanaka. Yeah, I liked him.
Who? Which one?
Professor Toru Tanaka.
Professor, yeah.
I don't remember that name. Maybe I'm a fraud. I don't remember that.
It's because you never seen the Running Man.
He never got big nationally. He was a little bit pre nationwide WWF expansion. Yeah. He was a territory guy. He worked a little bit in Mid-South, which is how I know his name. Yeah. But he was just
I mostly just know him from the Running Man, but he was a Sub-Zero, I think.
Yes, Sub-Zero.
Nice.
The hockey
now
player.
Plane Zero.
Now play, yeah. That's right. Nice. You get a bonus point for that. They mean nothing.
I didn't slip. I didn't manage to slip into an Arnold impersonation, so I hope that's good also.
Yeah, that's true. You said it, but you didn't say it in an Arnold accent, so I got to take the point back. I'm sorry.
I got to get the Turbo Mandol for Jamie.
Okay, what are y'all thoughts on Andre the Giant?
He's a big guy.
Big dude.
What do you think of him as a wrestler?
Well, as a wrestler,
because I mean, we could talk about him as an actor.
Not a good wrestler. He was a gimmick.
As a what?
Yeah, he was
as an actor.
As a what?
Steal a phrase, I guess, from Vince McMahon. He wasn't much of a wrestler, but he's an attraction. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He was an attraction. People came to see the size, and wasn't the greatest wrestler, but I'll be danged if I watched it. I wasn't born at the time, but rewatching the build up for him and Hogan at WrestleMania on Piper's Pit when he comes in and he's undefeated and he, to the public eye, like he hasn't been beaten in years, and he's challenging the hero Hulk Hogan to a match, and he grabs Hogan's necklace and rips it off, and Hogan's sitting there and he's just like crying, and Piper, he like touches his chest and he says, "You're bleeding," and then Hogan is in like disarray, and that was one of the best buildups, I think, and just one of the more climactic moments in wrestling. And as far as I think Andre served his purpose. Apparently he was a really good guy and he could drink a crazy amount of alcohol.
Yes, he could.
As far as a wrestler, though, I don't think he was the greatest, but and he was great in The Princess Bride.
Yes, he was.
The problem with Andre is by the time like he was building up to the Hulk Hogan angle, like he was so physically gone.
Yeah.
He was like, if you ever watch any clips of him when he was young, or even like in his 30s, he could do drop kicks.
Yeah.
Which is insane because he was one of the largest people that's ever been in a wrestling ring.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
But yeah, he was shot, but they worked such a good match around Andre's limitations because he just had like major surgery on his ankle, and the Hulk Hogan match was like his comeback match, and they weren't sure that he was going to actually be able to do it. And then of course Hulk Hogan's going to tell the story. Well, I wasn't sure if the Giant was going to shoot on me or not, brother, because Andre he couldn't be beaten. Well, that's all a bunch of crap. Andre might have let him think that, but there was no way at that point. Andre would have lost a fight to just about anybody who could have ran from him. So
I still do love how they keep to that story and keep the kayfabe alive with that, because when Hogan does tell it, he's like, I don't know if he was going to do it, brother. Like, he was just saying, we'll see when we get in the ring. And I didn't know if it was going to be a 1, 2, 3 or what, man. Just like, I love when the old wrestlers keep kayfabe like that. Like 100% they knew it was going to happen. But yeah, apparently if Andre didn't like you, he didn't like you. All the stories they tell, like, what would he play in the back, cribbage or something? Or I don't know what they used to play cards in the back, and sometimes he wouldn't even let people in the room. So apparently he really liked Hogan though, but he would always give him a hard time. And I guess before the match, he kind of didn't let on like, hey, he's going to do the job. Like, is he going to lose to him? So I still love that story. It was crap, but I love it.
Y'all
I'm talking a lot. Somebody else get in here, man.
Y'all
Isn't
remember
this your podcast?
So some days it feels like it. Y'all remember was it Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik? Didn't they team up?
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, man. Those are the big time villains there for someone like Hulk Hogan, the All-American guy going against Russia and Iran. You know what I mean? Like, how much more 80s does it get than that right there?
That was heated, man. And I was just looking back on it, that must have been serious heat, because looking back at what was going on at that time between those countries, like, that was serious business, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it kind of plays into that whole Cold War bit, you know? So it's like, there was a lot of movies that just fed into that. I mean, look at, what is it, Red Dawn? I mean, even like Rocky IV, just everyone was kind of really into that Red Scare. Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I think it was brilliant for them to actually really play that up.
I thought it was brilliant when All-American Sergeant Slaughter went to the dark side and joined them.
Sergeant Slaughter, yeah. He was a
what
Joe.
A traitor.
I know.
But the funny thing about Sergeant Slaughter, he had the only action figure that actually looked like him back in the day.
That's fair. That's really true.
Yeah.
Because I had all these action figures and stuff, and none of, I mean, you knew who Hulk Hogan was because of the colors, Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, but Sergeant Slaughter, like,
it also depended on where you got them, because the ones here in the U.S. were a little bit better quality than like if we went across the border to like Progreso or Reynosa, and those ones there were like super generic, really bad.
No, I had the legit ones.
Okay,
I still remember, and but Sergeant Slaughter, he had like his was, better than the ones now, but just him,
Yeah,
I wonder why.
I gotcha.
I just barely learned this year, I think, that Sergeant Slaughter was never in the military. I didn't know that the whole time. I thought he'd served in some form at one time, and they were like, "Nope, he never served at all."
It's just
you got work, brother.
I was gonna say, but he was a G.I. Joe,
Yeah, he was a Joe. Yeah. Well, they were going to make Rocky a Joe too. So I mean, they made the Fridge a Joe. I mean, I guess anybody could be a Joe. So I'm still waiting for my G.I. Joe figure. But
it would have been good stuff. I would have bought that Rocky Joe if they had.
I would have too. I would be like, dude, it's Rocky.
I think G.I. Joe, like, it was a big thing in the States. Like, I don't think it was ever. I mean, they were here, but I don't.
Well, he's a real American hero, so it makes sense.
Oh.
Is it true the real G.I. Joes were the 12-inch ones and not the tiny ones?
Yeah, the originals were the larger ones.
Those like the first ones.
Yeah, I got to know those the ones that flipped around, whatever, with the rubber inside the arms or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm pretty sure that we're not surprised, Manny. You do know a lot about the little ones, not the 12-inch.
For you guys watching, ACJ.
Oh, that's just wrong.
There it is.
I
You
feel
hit me
like
in the
we're
heart, Manny.
yeah, I know. We're building up to an actual.
Wait. You have a heart?
No.
Evan's just sitting back there enjoying the show. Kev, where are you at, big guy?
He needs another drink. I think
Hey,
we need to get 6-drink Kevin going.
I got my wife to get me one.
Otherwise, you're gonna grab her by the throat.
I'm chilling here. I'm
Yeah, I'm
trying
gonna
to figure
choke
out
slammer.
how I can work in some of my wrestling like collection into this podcast because I got
Show
so
it.
much stuff.
Bring it
Okay.
out. Yeah.
I'm gonna do it slowly. I'm gonna hit you every now and then. But my sister got me this for my birthday a couple of years ago.
Ooh.
Oh, is that the prayer candle? I love
It sure is.
Except it's Hulk Hogan.
It sure is.
Oh wow.
And so I also have I collect wrestling figures still. I have a very huge collection, and I wish I could show you, but I'm on a computer that I can't move right now. But
Yeah.
if you were to ever name a figure, I might be able to pull it out. And let's see. I also have this beauty right here, the NXT Championship.
Ooh,
Ooh,
nice.
look at that.
This is the real one, not the replica. Or I mean, I guess it is a replica, but not the commemorative. And
Gotcha.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, that is a beauty. I love that one.
That was my favorite version of that belt. The
Yeah.
Big X. I like that.
I'm going to take you
Yeah.
guys back to for people aren't looking right now. I'm going to take you back to the Attitude Era and show you this right here.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. Nice.
You know, visual
Well,
bits always kill on a podcast.
All right, now.
There's a lot of
That was
people that
the,
aren't watching, obviously.
Describe it for me.
What
Is
I
it
just
gold?
showed was the big eagle, and the story behind this is I've had this since I was young. Not this belt. We've done this for pay-per-views with friends. We all come over. We do like prop sheets. We'll ask questions, and whoever gets the most points wins this. So whoever's done at the end, we have a belt after all the major pay-per-views.
Uh-huh.
I haven't lost this in 2.5 years. I've only
Nice.
ever lost once. So I'm going to make my friends listen to this just to rub it in. Kiss my butt, guys.
There you go.
In true
I
heel
used to
fashion.
collect replicas like Kevin, but I had kids and I didn't have a use for them anymore. Like I did
Yeah.
love looking at them, but I would like to get back into it.
I
eventually.
only have the NXT belt because
Oh,
they're
okay.
freaking expensive. First of all,
Yeah.
I have a friend
They
though
are.
who has I think he has 30 to 40 belts.
Ooh.
Wow.
Is your neighbor
that's
Conrad
crazy.
Thompson by any chance?
Why does that name sound familiar?
He does all
He's
the
a
wrestling
podcaster.
podcasts.
He does everything. He does it with Arn Anderson. He does it with Bruce Pritchard.
Oh, okay.
Bruce
Yeah, I think I
Pritchard.
heard about him. No, his name is Jason Miracle.
Hey, Bruce, what's going on, man? How are you?
You guys remember the spinner belt, the John Cena spinner belt?
Yep.
Yes.
I went
Yeah.
to Walmart a few years ago. I mean, a
With
few years
COVID?
ago.
Did you have COVID
No,
when you
it
went?
was-
Yeah, did you have COVID when you went?
No, I wasn't
Did
even,
you break
I wasn't
any
even
laws?
married. No. So I go and the spinner belt, the smaller one is on sale. Like it's on clearance for about $1. So I bought all of them that they were
That's
there.
overpriced.
Yeah, no, and I threw them in the garbage. I went to the dumpster and I threw them. And I had that video on YouTube. I can't find it because I had few accounts. But yeah, my friend was like, "Why would you do that? You spent like $50 in belts." I'm like, "Yeah, like nobody deserves this crap."
You did the world of justice.
I was gonna say that's a hell of a video. I would like to see that.
I know.
Yeah, I'd love to see
I
that.
gotta find it. Like every time I remember the password or something, even if it's at night, I'll go and try to log into an account. I've recovered 2, but yeah,
Jerry and his
You
head
know,
right
you
now,
can
he's
just
like,
do the
editing
I
this
forgot my
out.
password button, right?
I don't have the email for that one because you could only have so many YouTube accounts for, per email or whatever. And then after year, I mean, it's been years. I
you
used
would
to do-
know. Manny probably has like 80 troll accounts on YouTube.
No, I don't. I used to have videos, but there were times like we used to do, I mean, what now is age restricted or whatever. We used to do like comedy videos and stuff like that. But sometimes some bunghole would report it, so the account would be frozen. So we would open another account and upload everything while, we showed that there's nothing wrong with that video or whatever and trying to get it back. And it's in one of those accounts. So
We're
I
really
don't
off the beaten path
I,
now.
I had a friend.
yeah. Let's get
I
back
had
to
a-
wrestling now.
I had a friend in college.
that's wrestling with YouTube.
Touche.
I had a friend in college who bought the $300 the stage looking replica of the European Championship.
In college? How did you afford that?
Yeah, I bought this
I don't
belt
know.
that was $300.
He's not saying he sold
college.
drugs or anything.
I just want to
No.
like buy lunch, you know?
Just wanted a cream cheese bagel, man.
And I don't know why he picked the worst belt, but he picked the worst belt. 'Cause he
Oh,
bought
I
it.
love the look of the European Championship.
I like the look of it too, and that's the reason why I bought it. But I was like, if you're gonna pay that much, man, get the
Wait, did you
get
say
the
you
win
bought
bagel.
it? Are you your friend?
No.
Did you say the European was the worst looking belt?
No, it's the lamest championship. It's not the worst looking
No,
belt.
because the worst looking and the lamest is definitely the Divas.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I agree.
But they
The one
but
with the
this was
butterfly?
before the
The
Divas.
butterfly.
Yep.
Ooh. No thanks. Oh,
It was a
hard
tramp
pass on
stamp
that.
belt.
Was the purple or pink with a butterfly or whatever?
Yes, it was.
Jerry, can we kind of bring this back to wrestling and can we ask what everybody's actual favorite championship was?
Okay, go for it.
That's
Ron, you go first.
Okay.
Why?
I mean,
Why Ron?
because I was off like spitting a loogie into the trash can. That's why, and I was paying
Seen
attention.
him on mute.
Well,
He
you
muted
know,
himself. I'm like, we're gonna get him.
Okay. So my favorite championship is the big gold belt.
Same.
Can't go wrong.
Classic NWA WCW one.
And when DDP was at a local convention here a few years ago, I got to meet him and get an autograph, take a picture with him, and I got to hold the big gold belt. And that was just a highlight of my life.
Now Conrad owns it.
Now, Conrad probably owns DDP too. Let's not kid ourselves.
Oh,
That's why I know who that guy is. Yeah, I saw that recently.
I gotta go with my favorite one. I do love the one I just showed, the Big Eagle, but I gotta go with the Reg Park Winged Eagle, the one that was made. What was the year? Maybe 1989 to 1996. That's my favorite one, I would say.
I gotta say the broken skull belt. It's not the 80s, but
Yeah,
I mean, that's a symbol.
I love the one that CJ held up. That's always been my favorite. I don't own like an actual replica. I actually have autographs on toy belts because I'm too damn cheap to buy an actual replica belt. So I've got like
I feel you, bro.
I've got Kevin Nash, Ric Flair on like these like plastic belts. Yeah, so that sucks. I should invest in one. My pod partner Adam has a really great NWA replica that anytime he meets an NWA champion, he gets their autograph on it. So he's got like AJ Styles on there. He's got I'm trying to think who else held that belt right now, but he's got a bunch of people on now. If he'd have been on here, that'd have been a great one for him to show and talk about. But we're talking about kind of speaking of stories, you know what I mean? On who you met, you know, and we're get it back to the 80s and happiest days of our lives, right? A few years back, Hulk Hogan came to San Antonio to promote with Church's Chicken. They were doing spicy chicken. It was like they were going to be their answer to Popeyes, and it was at a church. They gave out free T-shirts, and they actually gave the T-shirt said like it's red and yellow, you know, Hulk Hogan colors, and it says like Church's beats Popeyes, whatever to whatever. So this is the same shirt that the staff was wearing. So I went with this friend of mine, and she tells me, she's like, you should go back there and try to meet him. And I'm like, are you kidding? There's like all this SAPD right there. And she's like, just go. People are just walking back there, the staff. They don't know who's who. So I just was like, you know what? I'm going to take her advice. I walk back there. I get right to the back. They're about to take this big staff picture. Right to my left, there's Hulk Hogan with two SAPD cops. And I just walk up to him and I'm just like, hey, Hulk, you know, would you mind taking a picture? And he's like, yeah, brother. You know, he puts his arm around me. We take a picture. And I ask him, would you mind signing this shirt? He signs the Church's Chicken shirt I have on. I've got a great picture of it. I look like a complete dork because I was at work and I was just like, I threw this shirt over like my work clothes. But sincerely, it was like my coworkers got back, and when I got back to work, they're like, you were just like beaming. Like, what happened during lunch? They probably thought I had sex or something like that. But no, I was like, I just Hulk Hogan in the back of a church, and they were like, they didn't believe me, but I had photographic evidence. I got to send you that photo, Jerry. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
It was super awesome. You know, we didn't get to talk. It wasn't a big interaction or whatever. One of the SAPD guys took the picture, which was kind of weird. I kind of didn't ask the cop to take the picture. I just kind of pointed my phone at him, and he kind of looked at me like, "What the hell, kid?" You know what I mean? And I just was like, "Dude, come on! I'm standing next to Hogan. This will never happen again." But man, I never thought in my life I would meet him. And again, for me, it was like everything from the 80s like was in my mind, like say your prayers, eat your vitamins. Like to me, it was like the closest thing I was going to get to meeting Superman. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
I get it.
It was amazing, man. It was really cool. It was really cool. You know, I think we were kind of on a slant, and I know Hulk's supposed to be, he's built like at like 6 foot, but and I'm only like 5'4". I felt like, you know, the first thing my dad said when he saw the picture, he's like, "Oh, I thought he'd be much taller." And I was like, you know what? I didn't think about that, but I think we're on a slope, so he's a little bit standing a little bit lower than I am. I was trying to get a little bit of height there, but it was a great moment. You know what I mean? This is back before all the negativity about him came out.
Right.
So, you know, it still kind of holds a special place to me meeting the Hulkster.
That's cool.
So I have a Hulk Hogan memory too.
Okay.
I remember he was in some movies, and I grew up watching him as a wrestler. So I'm all excited about this Hulk Hogan movie coming up, and it was actually Crocodile Dundee. Paul Hogan.
What?
Yes, I spent the whole week thinking they said Hulk Hogan. I never, but I think his name is Paul Hogan. So
Paul Hogan,
I might not surprise. I might not surprise.
It's a true story, man. It's funny.
Oh, I don't doubt it's a true story. Knowing you, I could believe that.
That's terrible, man. That's terrible.
So, Ron, any relation, Ron, to the Paul Hogan in this story?
Not that I know of, but I should have probably just said yes. That's my cousin.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Ron would say, "You
That's
think
not a
that's a
knife."
beard? This is a beard."
And that is a hell of a beard.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think if he's nominated for Raddest Beard, there's like no way he's losing.
No way. Ron's got it on lock. I remember Manny said last week, he's like, "You should do a best beard." And I looked, I'm like, "Oh my God, Peach Fuzz, man. Ron's going to murder you."
Body slam. Epic finisher at the end there. Oh, man.
As long as he doesn't, you know, drop his butt in my chest, I'm fine.
Get us back on track, Jerry, because I have a feeling there's a lot of editing in the last 15 minutes.
That's okay, man.
This whole podcast is editing.
That'll be all right. I'm still editing the Stranger Things one, and that one is taking long. So, yeah, no worries.
Thank you, CJ.
Okay. All right. So we've talked about our favorite belts, and we've talked about
hold on, brother.
Okay.
I didn't get to talk about mine. Y'all keep skipping me.
Because you're the youngin', you're the baby. We forget.
You forget to raise your hand.
You're so quiet, Kevin.
I got you. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find a picture of me with a big gold, and that's what I'm doing right now. But no, the big gold championship is my favorite, the World Heavyweight Championship. But we got to specify here, not the WWE version. That
WCW.
Yes, the WWE version
Flat
that's
plate.
super tiny, that's red leather. It's stupid. No, WCW, that you know, just a big championship belt that just really indicated that you're the champion and drew your eyes to it.
I always love that flat plate version because they curved it in WWE, but man, I love the flat plate. It always looked good around the waist.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that very first one that Flair, they said Flair actually bought with his own money, right? You know what I mean? It was supposed to be like $25,000. That belt had real like crystals in it and all that. And, you know,
That sounds like Flair.
That sounds like Flair, and it sounds like BS.
yeah.
No,
I
It
believe-
also
I
sounds like
believe
Flair.
it.
Well, back in the day, they actually did make whoever the champion was put up money to make sure they didn't just take off with the belt and go into business for themselves.
Smart.
So they had that belt back in the day when champions were actual shooters. So if they're like they want Luthez to lose, they'd be like, "All right, if you don't lose, you can keep the belt, and we'll keep the $25,000 you put up." So, and that's why Flair took the belt with him, because they never paid him back his money that he paid. Because what they're supposed to do is take that money and put it in escrow and then give it back to you when you drop the championship.
Yeah.
They didn't give him his money back, so he said, "All right, I'm not dropping the championship." And then he took it to New York.
I did not know
So
that.
that belt shows up there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ron, you're knowledgeable and you're good people. I like you very much.
Yeah, Ron's a good guy. Yeah.
When there's a guy that could tell
You
me
should go
something
listen
about
to our
wrestling
Invasion
that I don't
USA
know, I love
episode
him.
because that was a good one.
Yeah, I recommend that one.
Yeah. So this one, we saw a couple of primetime spots that contained Christmas ish messages, and we kind of talked a little bit about it. But I remember primetime, and it still is. But I mean, I remember like primetime wrestling being like it. You know, it was like you didn't want to miss wrestling on those particular nights. Now I did because I was never into it, but I remember all my friends were like you know, I think it was what, Thursday nights or something, maybe it was Monday, I don't remember, but they were just like always, you know, they're like, we had to watch wrestling that night. And of course I'd rather watch, you know, GI Joe or, you know, He-Man or Transformers or something, but at the same time, I mean, I always felt like I kind of missed out. So you were saying Wednesday nights is the one to watch now, is that right?
Absolutely.
Well, it's arguable. Like SmackDown is good on Friday, but
Stop it.
what AEW is doing right now is
Did you just say stop it?
I sure did.
it's more fun. Listen, buddy, if you want to watch
the only thing good about it is Roman Reigns right now. That's the best thing of his career, and it took him like 7 years.
There's a couple good things
good
in wrestling. Raw sucks right now, but I really love Bobby Lashley and what they're doing with them.
Yeah.
But Roman Reigns is good.
Strong.
But listen, AEW has its problems. Like, I don't want to see these little children looking people. Like, what? Why?
Darby Allin. Yeah.
Darby Allin is fine. I think Darby Allin's
he
over.
looks like
He's
a kid,
painfully
dude.
small.
Come on.
No, that's fine.
And Orange Cassidy.
Orange Cassidy. What the
I
heck?
get it, but like I also don't get it. A couple of years, or I guess a year ago, when he was getting his push, people were like, "Oh, he should be world champion." I'm just like, "Are you sure you like wrestling? You want him to be your world champion? The guy that puts his hand in his pocket and fakes kicks? Like, this is not championship material. He has his place in wrestling, but he's not going to be your main event guy."
But to answer your question, Jerry, yeah, like right now, Wednesday nights, AEW, they're providing a decent show. There's some good, there's some bad with it. You'll watch it and be like, whoa, like wrestling has changed. But what you're getting with WWE right now is a very polished, high-end production that is just, it's way too scripted. It's way too polished. And sometimes, like, no pun intended, you want a raw and is that right now. There are some bad things with it. Like, there's some matches that just don't make sense. I think they're putting a lot of wrestlers out there that shouldn't be on national television. All of the women's matches are not good, but they do have some really good female wrestlers. It is the more fun show to watch right now. So if you want to get into something different, watch AEW.
Gotcha. Right. So I guess now's probably the time where I should say my cousin wrestles for TNA as a Simply Luscious. That's
still does, or
her
did?
and her. Well, I think she did. I don't know if she still does, but her and her husband, I know, she was friends with Daphne, and so I have to, kind of want to bring that up as well. Just unfortunately, you know, passed away today. So anyway, that's
super sad.
And actually, wasn't she in? She was in a Santa Claus the movie, wasn't she?
Who
she was? And she was on
Daphne.
Who was she in the movie?
She has a bit part, like I think one of the girls that makes fun of the main girl, I think.
Yeah, and I think she was wasn't she on
Santa Claus the movie?
Oh,
1985.
Santa Claus she was on the podcast when she did Santa Claus the movie.
She was, for that minute. So there's a podcast called
Tim
Santa
Allen?
by the Minute. What's that?
Are we talking about the Tim Allen movie?
No, it's Santa from 1985, Santa Claus the movie with David Huddleston, Dudley Moore, and John Lithgow. And so there's a podcast called Santa by the Minute, and they, you know, it's just one of those by the minute podcasts, but they literally just take Santa Claus the movie and they go minute by minute and do all sorts of things. And they actually got her to come on the show and talk about it.
Wow.
So it just kind of makes today a little bit even more sad, but
like Daphne is pretty much more recognized in WCW. Her name's Shannon Claire Spurl. I might get that wrong, but there was a troubling.
How dare
Instagram
you? It's
video.
not like we mispronounced your name ever.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Last night she did hop on Instagram and there was a troubling video and she was having mental health issues and anybody who's listening and whoever is, like, if you have issues with mental health or if you're ever feeling suicidal, things like that, there are people that you could talk to wherever you live, whatever country. There are hotlines that you can get in touch with, and there's always somebody there. And sometimes you're just a conversation away from something that'll just change your mind. And I know it's tough, but yeah, she did take her life. But we'll dedicate this episode to her and try to keep a bright light. But if you are struggling and if you're going through something, there's people you can talk to. And I know it's hard. Like, everybody has their mental health issues. I had my first panic attack in 2001. So like I've dealt with it, but I've never been to that level.
Extreme.
I've never had those thoughts. But if you do, please reach out, and you're not alone. There's going to be people that are going to talk to you. You're not as alone as you think. So, just contact, just look online. There's a lot of prevention hotlines out there, and it was sad. And the wrestling business did lose somebody pretty special, because no matter how big or small that your contribution is, like, they are a family, and watching them growing up, even a little piece, they were part of our childhood or adulthood. So yeah, let's just dedicate this one to Daphne, man, because it's a sad thing, and not to cast the lull over it or just to be depressing or anything. Just, let's just mention her, and because it's so fresh in our minds, right? So
right, that's why I wanted to bring it up. Yeah,
definitely, man. Well said, CJ. And I was a huge fan of the stuff that I really knew her from was what she did with CM Punk and the Second City Saints and Ring of Honor. That's where I kind of got exposed to some of that stuff. My pod partner showed me some of that early CM Punk stuff, and watching that, and I was like just amazed at how she would, get in there, mix it up with the guys, and Punk would put her through tables like anybody else, and it was like, damn, this chick is tough. You know what I mean? So rest in peace to her, man.
The one thing a lot of people are saying, and I think it rings true. I never thought of it this way, but she was ahead of her time as far as wrestling went. She was different, man. But if she was around now,
diva. She was no diva.
No. There was a lot of people now that took a lot from her, whether it be Paige or there's so many people, because she was big around 1996, and a lot of people in the wrestling business right now, they were young kids when she was around. So everybody kind of took something from her, and just a sad situation. And
what was the name of the girl from Rock and Wrestling? Was it Wendy? Was that her name?
Wendy Richter?
Wendy Richter.
Yes, Wendy Richter. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Fabulous Moolah ran her out of the business.
I just seen in Jerry's eyes, he had lust in the eyes.
Right there. That's the one.
You shouldn't have drawn her so nice,
The macho line. Yeah. You bring that up, Jerry, about wrestling in the 80s, and I was thinking of what was on TV, and I remember Saturday Night Main Event. That's what I remember being the show. And I also felt like if you got up in the morning and watched Saturday morning cartoons, and if you caught the wrestling cartoon, they also did like this, like, I felt like it was maybe like a 30-minute or even less with Mean Gene, and he would kind of recap the prior week's Saturday Night Main Event, and it would just be like a highlight show. And I remember catching that a lot on some Saturday mornings.
That was more in the 90s. It was WWF Superstars, I believe.
Oh, okay.
You'd normally have your squash matches. Like, what that means is, everybody here knows what it means, but for anybody listening, that was more when you're top.
Hey, Jerry.
It's more when your top wrestler would face somebody of a very low caliber, and they would really just put on a show and destroy them. And you kind of, Nice. But I remember Saturday mornings, man, we watch cartoons and Superstars would come on at noon. Heck yeah, man. That was some fun stuff, but that was more 90s.
Hey, CJ, how many of those guys that got squash in matches, are actual top superstars now and been top superstars, years after?
One that comes to mind, apparently Jeff Hardy was doing jobs for Razor Ramon on Superstars, and he was 16 years old at the time.
Yeah, both the Hardys did early job matches on WWF Superstars.
Yeah, even if you look at things later in the 90s, like Tommaso Ciampa did a squash thing with Undertaker one time, and he had hair. Like, you'll always see some of these guys that come up. Sometimes they do start off just as like fake security and stuff. It's really cool, man. Like,
God, all the NXT guys.
Yeah. But if you look in the 80s, it was a little different then. They'd run the territories, and if you were a squash guy, like, you hardly ever got over unless you can actually work a match. So it was a bit different in those times in the 80s for sure.
I think that you can say that just about it for everything. Everything was a bit different.
There's just one part with Shawn Michaels where he's just going on a rampage, super kicking people, is with DX, and you see him super kick Ty Dillinger.
Yeah,
who Ty Dillinger became. He wasn't a big star in NXT, but everybody knew him. He goes by Sean Spears in AEW now. But it's just so weird to be able to reflect back on this older I mean, this is probably like 2009-ish, maybe 2011. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just to see the same faces, and I mean, just how long they stick with the company.
Might I add Ty Dillinger, another good Canadian boy from Niagara Falls, Canada.
Is there a bad Canadian boy in your opinion?
Everybody's a good Canadian boy when they come from Canada. Look, some of the best wrestlers come there. The best wrestler of all time came from Canada. The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. And yes, he is better than Shawn Michaels.
The Mountie? What about the Mountie?
The Mountie is a crook. And if you want to hear a very quick story, he helped train Kevin Owens. And there's a lot of these wrestling managers and wrestling people that want to take like 30 or 40% of the contract they sign when they get into wrestling. And he tried to do that to Kevin Owens. So ever since then, I was not a big fan.
That's why we got to kill Steam kill.
Yeah. So not a good Canadian boy then.
He was an American boy.
How come when I Google Canadian wrestlers, The Rock appears?
Yeah.
The Rock.
Hey CJ, you know who's half Canadian?
Who?
You?
Carlito.
Is he actually?
Yeah, his mom's from Canada.
Do you know who else is half Canadian?
Who?
The Rock.
Really? Really?
His dad's from Nova Scotia, I believe.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, Rocky Johnson was Canadian. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Rock is Canadian, black, and Samoan, dude. He checked off everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he's
That's
a
why he's the
superstar, man.
biggest star in the world
That's
right now.
exactly right.
Yeah, he's got all four quadrants.
When you watch The Rock, would you ever think he would be this like? He's the biggest star in Hollywood. It's not even close. It's really it was fun to see.
Yeah, just go on YouTube or WWE old videos and you're like, wow.
Oh yeah. Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
No. Rocky Maivia coming out,
Oh yeah.
with all the colors and all that crap hanging from his arms. Like,
That was a horrible gimmick.
Flex Cavana.
USWA Zone Flex Cavana. Yeah, I remember watching him when he was working in USWA. He was so bad.
Jerry's like, what the hell's going on? Right
That's cool, man. Don't worry. Don't worry about me.
Jerry thought this was an 80s Christmas podcast, but it's really a wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
I knew this episode was going to go off track, so I'm just letting it go.
You get the NWO music in the background because it's a takeover, brother.
Was NWO the one with the X that they would make the X?
No,
What was
that's
that one?
DX.
That was DX.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember
DX.
that because that was like huge in our high school. We all did
Yeah,
it.
if you didn't get suspended for doing the suck it sign, like were you even a wrestling fan?
We used to do it just because I did it because all my other friends did it. I didn't care.
Yeah.
But
There was a funny story. I can't get too into it because like it did end not violently, but it wasn't fun. I was driving home. I was young at the time. I was driving home from the grocery store with my grandmother, and somebody was just walking across the street where there was a light and just walking, just whoop, doo, 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 and the light was green and everybody could go, but he's just walking super slow. And my grandmother stops the car and honks at him. And he does the suck it sign. And me and my wisdom, I'm just like, really? I got out of the car and I'm like, what did you just do? I won't get into it, but there was a physical confrontation. And I did not think the suck it sign was funny that night.
did you choke slam him?
No, but I have a history of actual, like, what would you say, amateur wrestling and jiu-jitsu. So he did get taken down and I just kind of pushed him down. I said, never do that again. That's my grandmother, man. There was no strikes thrown, but I did take him down and just say, hey, man, what the hell?
No charges were pressed.
No, I was a young
CJ,
kid. Other
I hope
cars
it was on
stopped.
the hood
and
of
they
the
were like-
car, man. You got to
No, but other cars stopped and like they thought I was the aggressor. I'm like, you did the suck it sign.
What? I don't know if that defense would hold up in court, man.
Yeah, sure it would.
We didn't have dash cams then, but my grandmother, yeah, she, God rest her soul, she was fuming after that too. She's like, I can defend myself. I'm like, you did the suck it sign, man. You know what that means?
No, get back in the car.
I was 12, man.
Your grandmother says, I can defend myself, and then she pulls a gun out of her bag.
Oh,
It wouldn't
No,
shock me, man.
that's actually in America.
Yeah.
I was going to say, these are the most violent Canadians I've ever encountered.
They're pretty.
I always
violent,
get that.
eh?
That's what Manny always says. He's like, man,
Yeah.
for a Canadian, you're really mean.
I work with like 5 Canadians and they're so nice. And then CJ, I'm like,
CJ
are you
goes-
sure you're Canadian? Like,
I
you're
told
the
you,
deal,
man.
man.
It's childhood trauma. I watched my grandmother get the suck it sign.
I think we found the difference between a Canadian and a French Canadian.
You found my origin story, and when I finally turned heel, some kid just gave my grandmother the suck it sign, and I lost it. And I lost myself forever.
The only Canadian heel ever.
You got to spin
Hey,
this
man,
story for
the
Jerry's show.
Mountie.
He was defending his grandmother. That's what the
There you
real
go.
point-
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think he's the face in this story, actually, Jerry.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But
Hey,
not even
Jerry-
his grandma saw him as the face. Like, get back in the car.
Jerry, let me ask you, man. So I know it's again, I don't want to get totally out of the 80s, but are you familiar at all with Mick Foley? You know, I mean, he's a huge Christmas guy.
The
Mick
name's
Foley was
familiar, but
Mankind.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
Mick
yeah.
Foley as in Mankind. Yeah.
Dude, love.
okay. No, I
Oh,
did
yeah.
not know he was a Christmas guy.
Oh,
He was
Huge
everything.
Christmas guy.
He has a
Yeah.
Christmas room. He plays Santa at Christmas. He's an absolute, what we would call in wrestling, a Christmas mark. A mark means that you're just absolutely over the top in love with it. I'm going to recommend a movie to you if you could watch it. It's called I Am Santa Claus, and it's a documentary by Tommy Avalone, which Mick Foley helps with, and it's about Santa Clauses that work at malls. There's 4 of them.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
They follow their stories, and I'm in talks with Tommy Avalone to have him on my podcast in November.
Nice.
To try to
Awesome.
just talk about it, and I hope he accepts. I've tried to explain to him I'm not monetized, I'm not going to make money. If there's a chance that you can get some downloads from it. So I have spoken to him before, because anybody who's seen that, there's a claymation Santa, and I messaged him and tried to buy it from him, and we went back and forth. It didn't work out because it was too I'm off track here, but too sentimental for him. But yes, Mick Foley, Mankind. If you look him up, man, he is a Christmas lover. He has a Christmas room. He's just an absolute. He's one of us, basically.
Didn't he do a Christmas book? Didn't he write a Christmas kids book?
Yeah, he actually
Oh,
wrote
wow.
Yeah.
he wrote a Christmas book about his life, but he also did a couple Christmas children's books too. So
Yeah. And Jerry,
Yeah.
I think he dressed up, I think, for one full year on his Instagram. He wore something Christmassy for an entire
he
year.
wore a Christmas shirt for 365 days.
We should
Yeah.
get him to
Yeah,
come to the
man.
store, Kevin.
Let's do it. Hey, speaking of
telling-
that, all right. There's somebody that you wouldn't even think is a Christmas guy, but I've met him 3 times at the store, and it is Sting.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Steve Borden.
Ah,
I have met him
Sting,
3
Sting
times.
has come to
I
your
got his
store.
Oh yeah.
Apparently, yeah.
The first time I saw him, I was 21. You know, he was still in TNA, and I saw his face, and I
We
think
get it. You're young.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jerry. You're like 60 years old.
Just kidding.
But you know, Sting
Stop
wears face
flexing,
paint.
man.
So when I saw Sting, it didn't really connect. It was probably about around the time he was doing the Main Event Mafia, and I'm just staring at this guy, and he's talking to my boss, and then finally it connects, and I freaked out. I'm running around the store.
Kevin, I don't want to interrupt you, man, but you're going to tell me that you didn't recognize Sting when he came out of the rafters in a black robe with the makeup on and a bat?
It was through the Christmas
kind of
tree.
wrestling
Through the
fan are you?
trees, yeah.
A dead giveaway when you descend from the rafters with a bat and white.
It should have connected, but you know, it just did. It was because he didn't have the face paint.
There you
I
go.
got you.
Yeah.
I thought he was there just to do like an inspection or something.
I mean, you didn't see RoboCop waiting for him out in the parking lot.
Man,
I do think that I think Sting is actually a pretty a religious person, so it
He
doesn't
is.
shock me that
oh,
he's a
he
big Christmas
is,
guy.
yeah. So
no,
he's
very-
been in a couple Christian movies.
Yep.
And so when he was there, the first thing he bought was a bookshelf that was in the shape of a canoe. Really particular, but that's what he got. And the second thing he bought was like a really expensive nativity set. And I know
Nice.
this because I volunteered to help carry all that stuff out.
Of course.
So I loaded up Sting's truck many years ago.
Oh man,
Yeah, got to meet him and met his wife, and I mean, he wasn't that friendly. But then again, I probably caught him off guard. He's just trying to shop, and you know, me being a fan, I'm just freaking out. I'm calling everybody I know, be like, "Hey, Sting's here! Get up here!"
Nice.
sounds like I hate you too. I think.
Yeah. I met him at I met him at a con, but like when you pay to meet them, they're a little bit nicer.
Yeah, right.
So it was cool.
Of course.
I don't have a bad Sting story, but yeah, that's really awesome, man. I was about to ask you guys, you never get like, celebrities that wander in or whatever? Yeah.
We've had a couple.
Yeah.
Had Yu Darvish a couple years ago, who was a pitcher for the Rangers.
What's his name? The football player.
We've had a couple football players.
Yeah.
Which one are you
Yu
thinking?
Darvish, that still breaks my heart because I remember it was between Boston and Toronto to sign him, and Toronto missed out, and then he went to Boston. That's a Toronto story, but anyway.
Now we're getting into baseball, Jerry.
Keeping it Canadian, yeah.
We had the center for the Cowboys. The name's slipping me right now.
I can't.
Frederick something.
Travis Frederick. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
He came in his rookie year.
How the heck do I know that? You guys are the Texas boys. Come on.
Because Six Drinks Kev, what's up?
I'm south. I'm further south than those guys.
Because I'm a comic book geek, man.
Oh yeah.
Deep south.
I'm one of those rare Canadians that's a huge NFL fan, and then just nobody here cares about it really that I talk to. So it's very rare.
We'll have
y'all
to
will probably get a team soon. We see y'all getting a team.
We'll do an NFL
Oklahoma.
Episode when sometime.
I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan, so I just know that they've won a lot more since Dallas has recently. So it is what it is.
They have a lot more. Come on, man. Their best running back's their quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know. He won the MVP as a quarterback, so I mean,
we went from football to baseball. Jerry, ring it in. Jerry.
I'm just curious. Does Dak Prescott's ankle even work anymore? Like, what's
probably not?
Probably. I don't know. Have you seen the last few games? So I think that tells you all you need to know.
I think we still have
He's been injured all preseason.
Yeah,
the shoulder. Okay.
Oh
this
no,
is
he his shoulder. Oh no, Dak
CJ.
Prescott. He's the GOAT.
CJ Ron, what do you guys think of the Canadian
that.
screw job? Let's go back to wrestling. What do you guys think about the Canadian screw job? I know it's probably not 80s, but
too soon, man. Too soon.
No. I don't mean it that way. What are your feelings on that part?
Okay, so anybody listening, because there's a lot of people that don't know what it is. The Montreal screw job obviously happened.
Montreal screw job. Sorry,
Quebec.
I screwed that up.
No, it's okay.
Canadian screw job is a finisher.
So when did it happen? 1997. Essentially,
I'm gonna have to cut that out. It's X-rated. No.
Bret Hart had Bret Hart was leaving WWF at the time, and he did not want to drop the belt to Shawn Michaels because he felt he was being disrespectful. And Shawn Michaels went on record and said he wouldn't do the same for him. So Bret kind of did get pissy, and he said, "I don't want to lose to him. I'll lose it any other time, but I'm not going to lose it to him in Canada." So what happened was, this was real. This wasn't, I mean, depending who you ask, but it was definitely real. The night came in Montreal, and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart were in the match. And in the match, there was a submission to be had on Bret Hart. It was a sharpshooter, and Bret Hart was supposed to reverse it. Well, when Shawn Michaels put on the sharpshooter, Vince McMahon, the owner, everybody knows who Vince McMahon is.
Right.
He told the ring announcer, or the bellkeeper, to ring the bell. And he rang the bell. So they pretty much screwed Bret. They took the title off him in Montreal because he wasn't going to do business with Shawn Michaels. That was the Montreal screw job. I'm a Canadian. I'm on the side of Bret should have did business no matter what. Personal feelings aside, I think that Vince McMahon did the right thing. Did I explain it good enough, Jerry? Do you understand?
I do. Yeah.
You explained it very well.
I think,
get it.
I think that Bret Hart should have, no matter how much you hate a guy, you're getting paid $3 million to go to WCW. They're worried that you're going to bring their title onto their television show because it had happened before with Alundra Blaze and the women's title. She threw it in the garbage on WCW television. That's like your Christmas store, you being the champion of your Christmas store, Jerry, and then you go to Bronner's. You go to Bronner's Christmas store and you throw everything that means anything of your Christmas store in their garbage can, and you do it on national television with 1 million viewers. So I thought that Bret should have did business.
Analogy.
I think you should have. I think you should have lost that match, and I think Vince did the right thing. I don't agree with the way it was done, but yeah, that's my stance on it. Anybody else have an opinion?
I will say that Bret screwed Bret. I will agree. I agree with you. I feel like they protected their company, and I mean, Bret Hart was literally leaving their company and he was the champion, and so that's your most prized possession, and so you need to you need to do whatever you can to keep it in your company.
Yeah.
So,
And I-
real quick before we head on to my bits
More
that I have
football?
at the end. No,
Oh.
before we head on to more football, I do want to talk about Roddy Piper's Christmas Carol really fast.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this was Roddy Piper is playing Ebenezer Piper, and he's visited by the spirit of, who is that supposed to be? His former.
it's supposed to be Marley.
I know it's supposed to be Marley, but like, is it like just his former business partner, or is it anyone in wrestling? Was it just a random?
It did look like someone in wrestling that I recognized, and I think I would have remembered.
Okay, because I was a little confused on who the actors were, or if it was just random. But he's visited by him, said he's going to be, the three ghosts are going to come haunt him and show him the meaning. We get Ghosts of Christmas Past, Ghosts of Christmas Present, Ghosts of Christmas Future, just like Christmas Carol. But after every ghost, Marley comes back and like starts just talking with Roddy Piper again. And basically he ends the way he starts, as, just a mean dude as well. It was odd. I thought Roddy Piper did not act very well, and the whole Scotch tape bit was kind of odd, but that was like a wrestling Christmas Carol, I guess.
It didn't make any sense.
It didn't make any sense. Yeah, it was a waste of like 6 minutes, I think.
It was 7 minutes of Roddy Piper roasting Ghost.
Yeah. I kind of like stuff like that though from the 80s, and I kind of wanted to bring this up earlier with you guys. Y'all have been bringing up some of the newer stuff, AEW, and even bringing up like 90s Attitude Era wrestling. I think one of the things that was really like kind of quaint about 80s wrestling was that it had things like that. Like it had characters, and it had like,
Yeah.
if they brought out a guy today now, maybe even like The Undertaker, it wouldn't be over. I think they kind of tried it with guys like Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, they
It's
just
like,
released him.
yeah, and we talk about how much, guys around our ages or age group like things like AEW and the things they're doing. I think now we can appreciate the actual in-ring work a lot more than we did back then, because obviously Hogan was not a great in-ring worker, but you got two guys here rocking Hogan shirts because why? Because when you're a kid, you view things differently in your child mind than you do in your adult mind. We talk about things, and Jerry, you and I have talked about it on some of your other episodes, and I know on my show we talked about it, but it's like you felt a different way obviously about Hulk Hogan, back then, and what he was doing, because he seemed like a real life superhero that was doing these impossible things, lifting up Andre, who again now we know Andre was kind of lumbering around, not that great in the ring, but at that time it was like, wow, here's these larger than life guys, these bright colors doing these amazing feats. You wanted to grow up and be these guys. And again, now I don't want to say that we're jaded or whatever, but we're just more informed or whatever. It's like, it's not those kind of things maybe don't entertain guys our age, but I think about the WWE product sometimes now, and I'm like, it's maybe more childlike because it's made they're trying to kind of make it for kids. You know what I mean? Like they're marketing to the children that are going to get their parents to buy them the John Cena action figure or lunchbox or whatever. So in a way, I understand that it's not necessarily made for us anymore. And it's nice to have another product that you can go to and enjoy, like an AEW or something like that. But it's funny how much we'll all go back and talk about those times from the 80s and those matches from the 80s. It's like, for the longest time, it was like, I didn't like Hogan and who does Hogan fight? He fights Andre in the same one that Macho Man fights Steamboat. Now we know that Macho Man and Steamboat was a much better match. But as a kid, if you were telling me, did I want to watch that? I'd be like, heck no, I want to see Hogan and Andre. Like that's the big, that's going to be the big thing, because you loved Hulk Hogan as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
I think wrestlers don't draw. I think characters draw. I mean, Hulk Hogan was a character, like you said. He wasn't the best wrestler. I think that's one of the problems with WWE nowadays, is that there's no real characters, and as soon as they start building a character, they just change their minds on what they want to do with that character. I used Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, as the biggest example. He had the coolest character in the past, 5 to 10 years, and they made him lose to Randy Orton because of Alexa Bliss, and then Alexa Bliss got his gimmick. Yeah. They're not building characters.
And I thought that character was done even better even before the Fiend, when he was kind of like, and because the modern wrestling is kind of a little bit more based in reality, but when he was kind of this cult-like leader,
Yeah.
that was a kind of a more freaky, more fearful. You almost got a feeling that the Wyatt family was a cult, and that this guy was this charismatic speaker and leader. I think he was cutting better promos in that time too. It
was creepy all the way to the name of his finisher. So,
yeah,
I will say
definitely.
this. I believe that Bray Wyatt did have the Fiend character in mind a long time while he was actually Bray Wyatt of the Wyatt family. I'll send a promo to you. There is a promo where he describes seeing I guess, an animal in the woods with yellow eyes and a white face. And that was basically the Fiend. So like, I'll send that promo to you. He always had the Fiend in mind. I do agree that I did like Bray Wyatt a little more. And the reason why, from what we're hearing, is the Fiend did not get the go-ahead from Vince because he didn't want to do business. He wanted to keep a lot of rights over his character. And I mean, we only know what we hear in the dirt sheets, but when you don't do what Vince McMahon wants, or if he feels that you're kind of pushing back on his ideas, he's not going to bury you, but he's just going to push you to a certain edge. And if you don't break by that time, like, he might put you over after that. But it sounded like Bray Wyatt was kind of done. And what they did with his new character was not cool for me. Like, I thought the Fiend was really good. And it's a bit of a sensitive subject for me. I'm a big wrestling fan. I don't think they should have released Bray, but now he's going to go to AEW, and hopefully they'll let him do what he wanted to do. Because if you look at a guy like Aleister Black, who's now Malachi Black, I mean, he's only been there a couple months, but he's a lot more interesting than he ever was in WWE right now. And that's coming from a big WWE fan. So, yeah.
I gotcha. So it does make me wonder, though, guys, talking about wrestling, what would you say would be your happiest moment regarding wrestling? Specifically from the 80s, but in general, if you can't find one.
Slim commercials with Macho Man.
Nice. Step into a Slim Jim.
Ooh, yeah.
Mine isn't from the 80s.
That's okay.
Growing up, I connected with Eddie Guerrero, and he was my favorite wrestler. He comes from El Paso, Texas. He's wrestling royalty, and I just loved him ever since WCW. He was a great wrestler, a great worker. I got to meet him once. He was a great person. They say don't meet your heroes, but when I met him, he was outside of a wrestling. It was in London, Ontario, and he was signing autographs. And the way it wasn't an underground parking. He was outside, but it was separated by a barricade. And he signed an autograph for every wrestler, even when security was telling them they had to go. He just looked at him and just kept signing. That was one of my happiest moments because I got to talk to Eddie, and I said, I know you hear this a lot, but like, I'm your biggest fan. I love everything about you. And he's like, man, I appreciate that. And before he left, he said bye to every single fan. But my happiest moment was he finally won the world title against Brock Lesnar at No Way Out. I'm not afraid to admit I cried. I'm invested in wrestling. I'm emotionally invested in. I'm emotionally invested in wrestling, and to root for somebody, it's like a movie. You cry.
I understand. Yep.
And when he won, that was my happiest moment. And my saddest moment is when he passed away. And I can't talk about it too much. It makes me sad. But my happiest moment is finally watching Eddie Guerrero, like the 5'7", Mexican American that they thought couldn't do it. And he finally beat Brock Lesnar, the biggest beast. And like, I was so happy, and I was so happy with how well he did. And he was a big draw for WWE. And Eddie Guerrero is a special person to me personally and in wrestling. So that's my happiest moment.
The day that he died, he was supposed to recapture the title.
Yep.
That's the bad part about having internet now. You know what's going to happen, the things behind the scenes. But I mean, I have to admit it too. I cried that day. I mean, he's one of, remember, Latino representation in wrestling, and being a champion and going again for the championship. It's not something we get to see all the time. I mean, after him, Rey Mysterio was built up to be a champion and all that, but he's one of the ones that paved the ways for our people.
It was sad on many levels, because if you look at it, like, I'm 30, I'm going to be 36 this year. I was young at the time. He passed away in, I think, 2007, maybe. I forget the year, but
earlier.
Yeah. Anyway, maybe 2005, but he was 38. And, he had a history with, pain pills, drugs, and obviously some steroids, and being 2 years away from the age that he passed. It's sad. And it's, but To keep it happy, this is our happiest moment. If you want to be happy, watch Eddie Guerrero win that title from Brock Lesnar at No Way Out. And the first thing he does is he hops into his family's arms and the fans' arms. And man, Eddie Guerrero was a special guy.
Right on. Kevin?
Yeah, I just want to touch on Eddie Guerrero for a little bit because I think he's really touched all of our lives. It was 2005. I just looked it up. I was in 8th grade. So just to age y'all more,
you're just twisting that knife.
I think I've been out of high school hard. 6 years at that point.
Yeah. Hey, y'all about to retire or
something like that?
No, man, it hit so close to home. Like, God, it was just so depressing. And it was one of those deaths that even if somebody didn't watch wrestling, they still knew about it because everybody knew Eddie Guerrero. Even if you just watched one time, you knew who Eddie Guerrero was. He was such an inspirational character. I mean, he was so much fun to watch. But let's just get away from the negativity.
Yes, happiest moment.
Happiest moment.
That's what I hear.
Man, what comes to mind is when CM Punk won the WWE Championship from John Cena at Money in the Bank in, was that 2011? Just because I grew up as a teenager watching John Cena, and so I was always against John Cena. Now watching him, I was just like, heck yeah, John Cena's back, because that makes me older now. But back then, John Cena was LOL Cena wins. It was every match he won. And so just seeing CM Punk stand up against John Cena and Vince McMahon, all that stuff, and seeing CM Punk win that title, jump in the crowd and blow the kiss, man, I was over the moon.
Right on.
I agree. That was fun.
Ron?
Well, my happiest moment was just a few days after Christmas, 1998, when Mick Foley, actually it was aired on January 4th, but it happened December 29th when Mick Foley won the WWE Championship by defeating The Rock. I'd been a big fan of his since the 80s and following his career from like WCW, even before that with like Global Wrestling through the ECW and then to the WWE. So when he won it, it felt like having watched this guy like break his body for this thing finally was rewarded with a derisive comment from Tony Schiavone, but finally got to win the gold, and that was kind of a big deal for me.
Right on.
I think you should have added to that. I think you should have talked about what Tony Schiavone said there, because it was it was a live Nitro and a taped Raw, and at the time, I forget when the match was, but Tony Schiavone said something like, if you flip over to the channel to watch our taped opposition, Mick Foley's going to win the WWF Championship. That'll really put butts in seats, sarcastically. But and it actually backfired because everyone did flip over to watch Raw, and it did put butts in seats. Yeah.
But Mick Foley, the fun thing about him was the Royal Rumble entrances. How many times was he in a Royal Rumble?
3 times.
Yes. That's always fun. I mean, I was younger back then, but you enjoy him. Like he'll lose as a character, come back as another one, then come back as another one.
There was actually a funny meme. I'll keep it super short. He posted the other day because when you go to Costco and you they have the samples. So he came out at Royal Rumble as Mick Foley, and then he came out as Mankind, and then he came out as Cactus Jack. So it was just a meme saying when you're at Costco and you want to get the same sample, and it just has him coming out as 3 different characters.
Nice.
Hey, don't forget my man, Dude Love.
Oh, I think that was Dude Love then, maybe. Yeah, sorry.
Chuck?
Man, I kind of cheated myself by telling you guys my Hulk Hogan story, who's from the 80s, but that didn't happen in the 80s.
Gotcha.
But, again, I don't want to digress too much. We've all done a lot, but I really like CJ, what you guys you said, CJ and Manny, about Eddie Guerrero. Just love the guy. And of course, I'm here in Texas, in San Antonio, so not that far from El Paso. And the Guerreros are legendary. So yeah, man, that's great. But for me, it would probably be here, and I'm going to put myself over, right? Because I already told you my Hulk Hogan story. But here in San Antonio, there's a local promotion called RCW Wrestling. I saw a picture of one of my buddies that I used to go out with, go out drinking with. He was like in a like a, I don't know what you'd call it, almost like a Kamala type outfit, right? And he's a big heavy set white dude. He's all oiled up, and I was like, I messaged him, was like, Dave, are you a wrestler? And he goes, yeah, there's a local promotion, come check it out. So I went to check it out, and if you guys know, all you guys probably know, except maybe you, Jerry, but and that's not an insult, Jerry.
No, it's okay. I didn't take it that way.
But Sean Supermex Hernandez was one of the coaches at the school. And I went and I tried it out, man. I did 2 classes. They were 4 hours each, man. And there's YouTube out there because the local Fox affiliate was there one day, and they got me like outside, like puking, because at first you're just running around these drills. But later on in the day, we actually ran the ropes, and we, did bumps, and I was terrible at it. That's why I didn't continue. I wanted to do something like refereeing or managing, but you still got to go to the regular wrestling school. But it was awesome, man. I took shoulder blocks from Supermex Hernandez, and I ran the ropes, and like, dude, you're bruised up on your butt and on your above that, your waistline, because the rope is like cord, and it just was amazing. No, man. Yeah. And that match, I mean, I just remember watching it, and I was seeing how the crowd was in love with both. They were in love with the match, what's happening in the ring. And I mean, I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm blown away too. And I'm just like, not meaning to cry, but tears are just like, I'm like, holy smokes, I'm crying, my face is breaking. Nice save. And I was like, it was so awesome. I was like, man, and that's the power and the beauty of wrestling. And it's cool to like, you loved it in the 80s, and you loved it in the 90s, and then there's things you love about it now. So, but yeah, for me, the happiest memory would have definitely been having a tiny moment to be in the ring myself and run those ropes.
That's cool.
Hey, that's awesome, man. That was a good story.
Yeah.
Manny?
Thank you.
Oh, I did. Macho Man Randy Savage, Slim Jim commercials.
Oh, you did, yeah. You did say that, didn't you?
Manny kept it brief for us.
Way to go, man. We've all been long-winded.
Okay, so then for me, I'll be quick too. For me, it would definitely be watching Rip just beat the heck out of Zeus.
Oh, very nice.
I got a question for you, Jerry.
Okay.
Zeus. He was in the Batman movie. Do you know which one?
The Dark Knight.
There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know that, which I thought was crazy. The first time I seen him, I'm like,
it's Debo, man.
It is Debo.
Debo.
All right, I got one for you, Jerry, too. A Christmas-related one. Christmas-related one.
I'll do my best.
What wrestler comes out in Jingle All the Way?
Oh, I know that one.
Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Is it it's the Santa, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but I don't know his name. Yeah.
CJ, I'll let you go ahead. Take it away.
Yeah, it was Paul White, Big Show.
The Big Show. Okay.
It's the Big Show.
What does he say? I'm going to deck your halls.
I'm going to deck your halls. Yeah.
All right, Jerry, then I have a question for you. What wrestler comes out in the Punisher movie?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's the Russian, right?
Yes.
I don't know.
I don't know this.
Kevin Nash.
The Big Sexy.
Okay, you want to know what else Kevin Nash was in? I don't know if it was early 90s. He was
Grandma's Boy.
No, he was Super Shredder in Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin
Really?
Nash, yeah.
Super Shredder. That's awesome.
But he wasn't Grandma's Boy, too.
Yeah.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Who
Well,
else needs a happiest memory? Ron didn't tell us his, did he?
I did.
yeah, you did.
Like
Yeah,
about an hour ago.
I think we all did.
McFoley.
Just-
Yeah, that
I
was a
guess it
good
wasn't
one.
happy
About an
enough
hour,
for you.
yeah. Wasn't happy enough. Let's do another one. No.
No, that was a really good
Now we
moment.
come to my favorite part
I
of the
love that
show,
one, Ron.
which is a little segment I like to call Macho to the Max. So this is where we're going to do our best impression of Macho Man Randy Savage. I think we'll start with, you know what, CJ, you're pretty good at kicking us off. So why don't you do yours first?
Oh, God. I don't know. Okay. Oh, why'd you make me go first?
Because it's funny.
Oh, yeah. Cream of the crop. On balance, off balance, I'm better than you. Yeah, I'm in a position I'd rather not be. Hulk Hogan, you got lust in your eyes for Elizabeth, man. Dig it. That's it.
that was good.
It might have been a little loud. You might have to turn that down.
Don't worry. I'll do some audio leveling there. What about you, Manny?
Oh, CJ, you know, I've been waiting for you. I want a rematch against you in the melee next time. Oh, you know, I'm taking you down.
That was pathetic.
Let's go with Kevin next.
Oh yeah, you know I'm the cream of the crop because I always race to the top. Yeah, I'm the tower of power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey. Sky's a limit and space is a place. Oh yeah, dig it.
Yeah, I love it. That was great.
That was good. All right, we'll go with Chuck next.
Well, you know what, Jerry? No one brought up what movie that I was in for all you comic book nerds. Because
Spider-Man.
Bonezaw's ready.
That's what I was gonna do. Oh man.
Let's not forget the cult classic Ready to Rumble. Okay.
Oh, that was good. What about you, Ron?
Oh man. Okay. All right. Let's see. The match the whole world, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, or anywhere else is waiting for. Miss Elizabeth, will you marry me? Oh yeah.
Nice.
Nice. So yeah, I was gonna do Spider-Man 3, but now I feel like or Spider-Man, excuse me, now I feel like I can't. So I'm just gonna have to go with one that I already did. So excuse me here, but I'm gonna go. Oh yeah, step into a Slim Jim, and I'll end it there. That was my lame attempt there.
Well done. Well
but
done,
that was
Jack.
great. So guys, you know, it's been fun talking with you, but I got to know, G.I. Joe taught us that knowing is half the battle. What do you think the other half is, Manny?
If knowing is half the battle,
Yeah.
the other half is slipping into his gym too. Because he always get me with that one.
All right. Let's see. Chuck.
If knowing is half the battle, then the other half is make sure to say your prayers and eat your vitamins, brother.
Nice. All right. What about you, Kevin?
You're Canadian, don't wrestle Shawn Michaels in Canada.
Gotcha. Ron, what about you?
Oh, give me a second. Sorry.
All right.
Well, you know something, Daddy. No one's half the battle, but the other half is not knowing. You know what I'm saying? Right here on the mothership, we get funky like a monkey. Can you dig it?
It was
That was
so good.
That was Dusty
Yes.
Rhodes. Baby.
Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
Awesome.
USA.
The American dream.
CJ, what about you?
Well, you know something, brother. If no one is half the battle, man, the other half is not touching the side of Miss Elizabeth when Macho Man's talking, because you might get into a little scrap on live television, man. Because if you guys remember, Macho got a little pissed, dude, and all my Hulkamaniacs had to have my back. So if you want to know something, brother, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, but never touch another man's wife, dude. Especially Bubba the Love Sponge, man, because it might be recorded, man.
Oh, no.
And you might get some money from Gawker. But I'm talking off the cuff now. All I got to say is this. Thanks for having me, dude. And all the Hulkamaniacs out there, keep paying for the shirts, brother.
Oh, man.
All
All those
CJ.
are like so much
Wait.
better than mine.
All right, CJ, you have to say that you ate too much pork.
Shouldn't have had that sushi. Oh man.
Damn it, dude.
So, Yeah, so mine is like nowhere near as good as any of all those. If no one is half the battle, the other half is stealing all the scotch tape so your enemies can't wrap their Christmas presents.
That's a good callback. Yeah, I
At
like
least
it.
it's on
Yeah.
topic.
Which
It's
is what
relevant.
what Roddy Ebenezer Piper did to Bob Cratchit. Anyway,
I try to erase
guys,
that from
it's
my
been a lot
memory.
of fun. What do you want to plug? Like, tell me about your shows.
Not
Whoever
everybody
wants-
at the same time.
Yeah, whoever wants to go first. Let's just, you know what? Let's do it Royal Rumble style. Just everybody at one time. Just
Oh, there you go.
No.
That'd be nice to edit.
I'm coming in at 28.
No, whoever. Chuck, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Guys, we're Just Another Friday Night. You can find us on almost all social media at JAFN Podcast. We go live every Friday night on Facebook. And then the next day, it's usually, or the same night, you can find it on YouTube, the unedited show. Otherwise, we edit it a little bit down when you hear it on Spotify and any other podcast platform. But if you want to join the conversation, join us live on Facebook on Friday night. You can find us at Just Another Friday Night there. And then on YouTube, just search Just Another Friday Night also. Hit a subscribe for us if you guys wouldn't mind. And we talk wrestling. We got a couple of wrestling episodes out there. We did one on The Undertaker. We did our Mount Rushmore of wrestling episode. We did, I think, also 80s versus 90s. 80s versus 90s episode, which is a lot of fun, you know. So you guys were all excellent guests. I was honored to be amongst you. And I wish you guys got to meet my pod partner, Double A, because he's like Ron, man. He's like a wealth of knowledge. He might not have been as enthusiastic with his impressions, but he definitely has a lot of way more knowledge than I do regarding wrestling. Shoot, I'd be honored to have you guys give us a listen. I forget Jerry runs a clean show. I don't run a clean show, so
you know, and I shouldn't because it's 80s, but it's Christmas also, so I feel like I kind of got a bit.
Exactly.
CJ?
Yeah, you guys can catch me on Christmas Conversations. It's a Christmas podcast where we talk about everything Christmas and everything in between. I'm never going to ask you to like or subscribe. I'm never going to sell t-shirts. I'm not going to make a Patreon. I put out Christmas content because I love it, and I hope you do too. And if you don't, go to hell. But no, you can reach me on Instagram at christmas.conversations, or you can follow me on Facebook at Christmas Conversations. But in all honesty, I love being here. This was the most fun I had. I'm passionate about wrestling, and I love spending time with everybody here. It was a really good time. Thanks for having me on, Jerry.
Yeah, anytime, man.
Well,
Manny?
time out real quick. So CJ, you don't have a wrestling podcast?
Nope. No. I'm a big Christmas lover. I've thought about it, but I just feel like the wrestling podcasts are very oversaturated, and I would just get bogged down. I would love to go on wrestling podcasts once in a while and talk about it, but we'll see somewhere down the road. I love Christmas, and I love putting out Christmas content, and I just have a real passion for that.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought
No, it's okay.
I felt like you guys were all wrestling podcasters.
No.
Nope.
Maybe we should be.
Right? Except me, I guess. I'll just
no, Jerry. I want to
watch.
I want to listen to Jerry's wrestling podcast.
Me too.
He just
and
did.
then he totally put his brother in traction, and he had to,
I actually think you stumbled on
Another
some
callback
genius there. If Jerry would just review current wrestling and not have an idea and just talk about it, I think it would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. So this one dude said this thing, and they didn't like it, and this other guy got slammed, and
Pretty sure it was a battle royale.
Manny?
My podcast is Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad, the bilingual, multilingual Christmas podcast. And you could find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FCMN Podcast. You could also search any podcast platform for FCMN Podcast. And well, this year you could actually find me on Totally Rad Christmas more than my own podcast. So thank you, Jerry.
You're welcome. Ron, what about you?
Yes, you can follow my podcast at Film Strip Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media. And unlike CJ, I will beg you to rate and subscribe and to give me 5 stars. He kind of stole my sign off that I usually do for my podcast, which is typically thank you for listening. But I say that after I say give it 5 stars or get bent. So, but yeah, Film Strip Pod, and you can also read my writing if you have working eyeballs or a talk to text computer program. You can read it at Jenna Geek. I'm covering right now The Walking Dead and American Horror Story and presumably other things. But that's what I'm working on right now.
Cool. Kevin, want to plug anything?
Yeah, so I don't have a podcast, but I've definitely talked about getting a podcast called Talk About Things, where we talk about stuff. But I do have 2 pages you could follow, but they're not very active. On Instagram, it is Elite Figures. It's a bunch of my wrestling figures. And then on Facebook, me and my buddy had a wrestling page called Heel Turn, but we stopped doing that a while ago because we're both dads.
Happens. Right on. Well, thanks again, guys. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I laughed a lot, so that's always great. And on that note, I'm going to end it by saying this is going to be some Christmas program right here on Primetime Wrestling. So check us out on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you're feeling like Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant, leave us a review on iTunes. Not only does it help us reach more people, but you also get a free sticker. Be on the lookout for our merch shop coming soon on tpublic.com. Later, dudes.
Hi, this is Manny from Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad, the bilingual, multilingual Christmas podcast. In our podcast, you will hear about foods, traditions, how this 2020 Christmas will be interesting, especially from 6 feet away, and many more new surprises. Join me on the road to Christmas, along with many guest hosts from other podcasts from the Christmas Podcast Network. You can listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, or just search for us on your favorite podcast platform. You could also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at FCMN Podcast. Or visit our website, fcmnpodcast.com. Feliz Christmas, Merry Navidad.